Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Introspective Diaries. I am Nana Hasia, and if you're new here, this channel is all about personal development, faith, introspection, and everything in between. So, this video is titled Tap into Your Inner Knowing. I wanted to make a video about essentially bringing out or tapping into your inner world, your intuition, your thoughts, your feelings, the sensations that you feel within your body, especially as someone who, for a long time, kind of dismissed a lot of my intuition, a lot of my kind of peculiar thoughts and feelings, all in the name of fitting in or masking, and has learned to kind of undo all of that. And I realized how important it is to tap into your inner world and allow your intuition, allow your inner sensations to help guide you on your relationship with God, your relationship with yourself, and your relationship with others. This is more than just about kind of receiving any material gain. So I'm not going to say that kind of tapping into your inner knowing is going to give you anything material at the end of the day, but it is going to change how you feel about yourself and how you feel within yourself, which, as a diagnosed neurodivergent, is very important for me because I spent a lot of my teenage years and early adulthood masking and trying to fit in with people, trying to kind of do the normal expected things, which brought me a lot of dissatisfaction and a lot of pain. But because the fear of not fitting in, the fear of being outcasted or being seen as different also fueled me, I masked a lot. So masking is essentially like dismissing your inner knowing, your inner feelings, your inner sensations, what you want to do, the sensations that drive you, the feelings and intuitions that guide you, is essentially kind of ignoring all of that, okay? And it's not a binary thing. It's not a case of you either dismiss your inner knowing or you're tapped into your inner knowing. It can manifest differently in different aspects of your life. So, for as long as I can remember, I've been a very intuitive person, even since my childhood, my early childhood. There's been about two occasions where my inner knowing, specifically my intuition, has saved me from harm and saved me from trouble. There was a particular incident that happened when I was about 6 or 7 years old where my intuition gave me so much information that saved me from a situation that was going to be a calamity. And I've been in these kind of situations throughout my life, and my intuition has always guided me out of them safely. So even though as I got older, I kind of dismissed my inner knowing, it is something that a lot of children, even toddlers, are tapped into because they don't have to deal with a lot of the clutter that adults and teenagers have to deal with. They don't have to deal with expectations. They don't have to deal with kind of filling themselves with a lot of um, ideas, a lot of things that essentially cloud their judgment. Children are some of the most intuitive people that you'll ever meet. They're some of the most um, there's some of the most intuitive and knowing people that you'll ever meet. So there's times where you might have a child, you might have children around you, but there's times where they might be reluctant to go to a place. They might be reluctant to see some people. These could be family members, it could be friends. They might just be reluctant to engage in certain things or go into certain places. I see that a lot with locations. At the same time, they also might be really drawn to some people. Is because they're really tapped into their inner knowing, they're tapped into their intuition. And as adults, we're people who we're essentially kind of told to dismiss our inner knowing um, subconsciously. And I say this because as you get older and you acquire more responsibilities, and you kind of delve into what it means to be a mature and responsible adult, our daily routines essentially kind of encourage us to mask. Our daily routines encourage us to just get things done, and to not tap into our bodies, to not tap into our emotions and feelings and the sensations that we feel through our senses. We're told to dismiss them, right? We're told to kind of, we're always in a rush. We're always in a state that's kind of like in a survival mode, where I see this a lot as someone who commutes to university. I have to take the bus and the train to university, and it's it's something I hate doing because I'm always kind of around that rushed energy, that energy of people just trying to get somewhere. They don't have time for themselves or other people. It's kind of just this sense of urgency and this sense of autopilot that just kind of makes us want to rush and just to get into places. Okay, so tapping into your inner knowing is something that will help guide you. It's something that will help you to self-actualize, and it's something that will help you to really kind of feel comfortable within yourself. And for a long time, I felt very uncomfortable within myself. And as a neurodivergent, if you're someone who is neurodivergent, maybe you're dyslexic, you're autistic, you might have ADHD or dyspraxia or anything of that sort, kind of feeling uncomfortable within yourself is something you're familiar with, because we're kind of told that in order to fit in into society, in order to come across as normal, in order to make friends and have fulfilling relationships, there's things that we have to do. There's social norms, and yeah, the social norms that we have to abide by. And as people who can be quite introspective and people who can have like a very deeper sense of inner knowing because of our sensitivities, we usually kind of betray our senses of inner knowing in this process, which leaves us feeling even more alone, and you might still have a lot of people around you. Okay, so if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes. um so why is this important, right? Tapping into our inner knowing, like I said, is a guidance for us. It's something that if you are someone who has a relationship with God, if you are someone who is, even if you're, spiritual, or you're someone who likes to introspect a lot, it's very important that you're tapped into this, because divine messages or revelations of some sort, guidances, comes through our senses. Okay, and if you're constantly dismissing your senses, if you're constantly running away from feeling, if you're constantly running away from your own ideas, thoughts, and emotions, you're going to dismiss the things that are meant to guide you. And this, in extreme cases, can be a situation of life and death. You might be someone who, there's instances where people kind of have felt like they shouldn't have gone somewhere, and they've gone and something negative has happened to them, right? Or sometimes they feel like they should do something, that they want to embark on a journey, they want to pursue something that is creative, something that, might be seen as unconventional, but they dismiss that because it really doesn't conform to what people expect of them. It doesn't conform to the status quo idea of success. It doesn't conform to what people will see as successful. And this can cost you your livelihood, right? It can cost you that feeling of self actualization, that feeling of feeling fulfilled. Now, the first tip I have is to kind of tapping into your inner knowing is quieting the noise. You can never really get rid of the noise, because people are always going to want something. We're always going to have responsibilities. There's always going to be events that happen that are out of our control. So we can't entirely get rid of the noise, unless you're living in, I don't know, a vacuum of some sorts. Then we're always going to have to deal with the noise, but we can quiet it down. Okay, and some of the noise that we experience is self-induced. Okay, going onto social media for way longer than we should, engaging in behaviors that are destructive for our, not just our bodies but our souls, okay, our spirits. So if you're someone who maybe you drink a lot, or you like partying a lot, or you like kind of being around lots of people that you never really get the chance to sit down by yourself and feel your feelings and hear your thoughts and feel the sensations that are going through your body, right? Because the body is one thing that I think that we have been really disconnected from, even though we're going to be in a body for like from the beginning to the end of our lives, right? And it's something that I've been trying to do more of, is tapping more into the sensations within my body, to kind of guide me to understand more of my complex feelings. Okay. So I'm someone who has always been very rational. I've always liked to think things through. I always understand things on a cognitive thinking level. But there are times where I've been in very tricky situations, or I've been through like a situation that was kind of traumatic for me, and cognitively I will understand what I need to do to get better, and I'll do that. Okay, I'll get to the mind space where I've understood the situation I've gone through, and I've processed it mentally. But then there will always be sensations within my body that would make me feel like I haven't gotten rid of it. So there would be like sensations like heart palpitations, or kind of having like a knot in my stomach, or restlessness, especially during times where I'm meant to be relaxing, like when I'm asleep, like when I should be asleep. Okay, so there's a specific example that I'll share because I think some people might be able to relate to it, where I had gone through kind of a traumatic situation a couple of years ago, and cognitively, I was healed from it. Okay, cognitively, I understand what happened. Cognitively, I understood. Sorry, what happened? I understood what I had to do to get out of that. I had made steps, I had taken the steps, and mentally I was kind of free from it to an extent, but body wise, I wasn't. Okay, so there are times where I would get heart palpitations, I would feel anxiety, there would be a lot of tension within my body. And I remember once I was kind of laying in bed, and the thing about this is that it shows up randomly, okay? Like unhealed trauma can show up randomly. You don't even have to be thinking about it, which is why the mind isn't entirely useful when you're kind of trying to get out of these situations. I was laying in bed and I was trying to fall asleep. I was actually on YouTube, and then I just felt this kind of sudden rush of panic. And I was like, what is going on? Like, why is this kind of feelings kind of coming up? And I remember there was like a feeling was inside me. There was actually like a very quiet voice that was like, you haven't let go of the situation, you know? And letting go is not just like through the mind. Your body also has to let go of the trauma, of the pain, or of whatever you'd gone through. Your body has to release it. Okay. So then I kind of allowed my body to kind of create space for me to to let go of whatever heavy feelings that I was feeling. So like I said, quieting the noise helps with this, and when you do quiet the noise, yes, you will feel more. Okay, yes, you will think more. Um, but that information is necessary for you to not only to tap into your inner knowing, but allowing your inner knowing to help guide you and heal you. Okay. So the second tip that I have is um tapping into your senses, which is kind of beyond just like feel, what you smell, what you see, what you can touch, and what you can hear. It's and also kind of beyond your intuition, but allowing information you receive to really penetrate your senses. So for example, something like wisdom is a very I was thinking about this yesterday actually. Wisdom is something that isn't just something you find in a book, but kind of internalizing wisdom and acquiring wisdom requires you to allow your sorry about that. It requires you to allow your inner knowing um to really understand and internalize information that you received. Okay. And one thing I always say is allow yourself to be receptive to wisdom. Allow yourself to internalize wisdom. Okay, it's not it's not just about like a nice sounding quote or a nice sounding verse in a religious book. It's about really allowing it to heal you and allowing yourself to resonate with it. Okay. So I'm a Muslim, so I read the Quran, but I also take wisdom from wherever wisdom lays. Okay. And whenever I say this, some people are really shocked and surprised, but my best friend is a Christian. We've been friends since we were 13. And even though we belong to different faiths, we pour into each other spiritually. That a lot of people are shocked by when I mention that is she's someone who can have revelations about me, and I'm someone who can really shed light spiritually on events and situations in her life because of what I've gone through and because of the knowledge that I've acquired through things that I've gone through. Okay. So allow yourself to be receptive to wisdom. Allow your senses to really receive it. Receive the wisdom, receive the information that is being shared with you. And this is something that will really help you tap into your inner knowing. Okay. The third tip that I have is um really paying attention to subtlety. Okay, so sometimes your inner knowing isn't going to be a hard knock. Okay, it's not like someone's banging on a door all the time. There are times where that might happen, but there are also times where it's very, very quiet. And I find that oftentimes it's very, very quiet. Okay. Allow the subtle signs to guide you. And sometimes you won't understand it entirely, or sometimes it can be like a message that you won't be able to understand how you're going to get there, you know, but you understand the message and you just have to trust that you will be led there. So, for example, a couple of years ago, I kind of experienced this really weird sensation where I was going about my day, and all of a sudden I felt like a light within me, but I could kind of also kind of see the light. And it felt like the light was kind of covered under lots of rubble and lots of dirt, right? And however, the light was still shining through. So I felt that and I didn't understand it because it was a time where I wasn't really practicing. I also wasn't tapped into my relationship with God. I was kind of also engaging in destructive habits. So I was very confused at that time, but I understood the message, and I've been guided since then to really allow my light to come forth. Okay. So it's very subtle, but it's very powerful and very meaningful. So these are the three tips that I have to tap more into your inner knowing. Remember that wisdom is everywhere. Allow yourself to be receptive to wisdom. Do not be closed minded, do not be narrow minded, that you evade the messages that are meant for you. Okay. Also quiet down the noise in your life. Know what you're running away from if you're running away from something. And know that there's a subtlety within the messages that we receive through our senses. So if you're someone who has struggled with tapping into your inner knowing, or if you're someone who is trying to tap more into it, I'm really curious to know what kind of blocks you're facing or what you've learned on this journey. So please do comment that in the comment section below. And if you found this video to be insightful, definitely leave a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this.